Hi everybody, a very warm welcome to you for May's card class. I'm going to share with you the first card in this month's set of cards. We've used the Zoo Crew suite of products to create 5 different cards, and I've used images cut from the designer series paper. You could by all means use images from the stamp set if you wish. It depends if you like fussy cutting, and it depends if I've used images that you enjoy using. So I'm going to create the cards exactly as I have intended them to be, but feel free to swap any bits out, mix and match, and do enjoy putting everything together. So for the first card design, it looks like this. I've used the basic border dies to create a little bit of a hill and a little bit of a cycling scene. Now I know they look like they're about to crash into each other. I would rather think that they are on their way to meet each other to have a little celebration. I've used the fox here, and that's cut from, that's a whole fox image. And then this one here, I've not cut him yet, but I will cut him out whilst we are talking. I've used the little crocodile that's on the edge of the DSP. One of the reasons I've done that is so that you get a little bit more out of your papers, but also I think he looks quite effective being partial. It looks like he's cycling in and he's not quite got there, and he's bringing his lovely fox friend some flowers, or at least that's what I have in my head. Wasn't really the way I intended this card to go, but I'm really pleased with how it's come out, and it's a great little way to use these little travelling images. Now what I've done is I've tried to use as many of the papers as I can without cutting too many of the animals off, if that makes sense. You will just need to go careful with how you cut your papers, and I've included a little bit more about that in the instructions, so do have a read with that. Do familiarise yourself with the images that I've used, the papers that I've used, but just be mindful, depending on how you've cut your papers and depending on the animals that you want to use, your cards might look a little bit different, and you know what, that's absolutely fine. But do feel free to share them with me. I love to see how you interpret the designs that I make for my classes. It's such a treat. Okay, so I've just cut my little crocodile up, and then this card is really simple to layer together. So let me just take some of these pieces. Okay, so I've got my card base. This is Pool Party. You can't beat a bit of Pool Party. And I'm layering on a piece of basic white card. There we go. Okay, so that's stuck down. Then the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take my die cut piece of crumb cake card. You'll notice on this there's kind of a good side and a bad side. The bad side feels a little bit rough, whereas the good side you get a really clear indentation. So that's the side that you want to be facing outwards. Okay, stick that down. And then before I do anything else, I'm going to add in my little bit of line around the edge. And I'm just using a black fine liner. This happens to be a really old Stampin' Up pen, but you can purchase black fine liners from any stationery shop. I recently got some really good pens in the range of all places, and they were a really good price. And they come in a pack of 3. So there we have the background of our card prepared, and now very simply we can add in our images that we've cut. Okay, now I am going to stick these down with some dimensionals just to give it a little bit of depth. Just be mindful when you're posting your cards how much of this you've used. Okay. Now I'm using a lot of dimensionals here, and I'm just going to grab a little wee mini dimensional as well. I really don't want Mr. Crocodile cycling off. There we go. And I'm putting him on so that he sits just slightly over the top of our edge, so just over, he overlaps the crumb cake line, and then Mr. Fox is going to go on as well. We won't put so many on him, he feels like he doesn't need as many. Okay, and then Mr. Fox is going to go about then. I'm just making sure his tail only goes ever so slightly off the edge of the card. So they're on their way to have a nice little meeting. And then we have some clouds. Now the clouds have been cut from the dies that coordinate with the stamp set. I always want to say, are they Zoo Crew or Zany Zoo? I think they're the Zany Zoo dies. So I'm just going to put my little clouds on. It's a really, really simple card design, but I think it's really effective. Okay, so there's my little clouds. And then I have my sentiment to heat emboss. So in your kit, you're going to need a little black banner die. This comes from the Stylish Shapes set. And the sentiment I'm using is Something Great to Celebrate You. Now, as a little treat for you all, I'm going to use a brand new Versamark pad. It's been a while since I've used a new Versamark. You know when you need a new one because it looks a bit like that. I'm going to give that a bit of a clean and a bit of a wipe and re-ink it or re-Versamark it, and hopefully it will be as good as new. So I'm going to stamp this. I'm going to end up cutting off the edge of that banner, so I'm going to make sure that I stamp it towards the sort of right hand side. Little press. Oh, that looks good, that looks good. And then we're going to use some white embossing powder for this one. Oh, got it. I need to clean my embossing powder out after it's been used at a class. And what I love about using a new Versamark is you get a much crisper look. I've just remembered I didn't use my embossing buddy on this. I'm just going to give it a really delicate clean. That's probably about it. And then give it a heat. There it goes. I have a lot of people comment to me, oh, I don't like heat embossing, it never comes out right. I can't ever get it to look really crisp. Honestly, using a new embossing folder, sorry, a new Versamark stamping pad is a real game changer. So now pop this on. And I'm putting it on so that it just overlaps the edge slightly. Turn it over and trim off that little fishtail like so. Once I've done that, I am going to, I've got a piece of white to stick inside. And I'm going to draw my little black line around the edge to bring that together. Like so. Okay, all done. Oh no, I've forgotten one thing. I've just added a couple of little gems. So these gems you've got in your pack, they are the Tinsel Gems 4-pack. and you've got pink ones, yellow ones, green ones and blue ones, and I've just used a little sort of mash-up of these on my card, so it doesn't really matter what colours you use. For this one I've used blue ones, but you really can use any of the colours, and it's just to give it a little bit of sparkle and a little bit of texture. And there we have it, that's card number 1, all finished. I do hope you enjoyed making it, and I will see you all over on video number 2. Bye for now.